back to the channel. Following on from the last episode, we're going to keep on with the engine. Only a few more gaskets left to go onto the bike. So today's one, we've got the alternator gasket to do. I'm going to work round. I've got the points cover to have a look at as well, have a quick clean up on that. And then we'll be on to the rocker cover gasket. The plugs I've already got the screws out ready to put the alternator back in. So without further ado, let's crack on, get some more of this done. Right, so a fairly easy one. I've already taken the alternator off. Gasket ready, and it's just a case of 4 screws to put it back together, and I don't have to worry about that. Alright, so it's got the groove in the bottom which curves around this bottom nut. And fits over that locator dowel. Is just wiggle it into place. Right, so I've just got to knock that into place at the bottom and then tighten up all them screws. So let's just tighten up these, two bottom, 2 top, and then that's in place. And then we can move on to the next part. Right, so that's the alternator done. Next we're going to move back, get some screws in the starter motor, get the sprocket on, sprocket nut, and the actual outer cover. Let's pop that lead back in. That's all pokering outside, so then we can get this part done. Obviously I'm going to need to put a chain on at some point, but I just want to get all the covers in place. I've just got one more bolt to find. Got 2 sitting there, I just need one more for the top part. So as I say, so 2 screws in here, then we can fit the actual top chrome cover, then get the outer sprocket cover on and get that all in position. So that's the next job. One thing I did want to mention before anybody asked, these screws are actually JIS screwdrivers. I'm using actually to put these screws in. I'll show you the set I've got. Right, this was the set. I've just left them in the card. I've taken out the outer packaging. So it's basically a 4-piece screwdriver set. All JIS, recommended for the older bikes. Especially with all the screws. I'll leave a link in the description where you can get these. I say I've had them some time, but they're well worth the money. So I don't think they were that expensive, but for working on these kind of bikes, you really do need JIS screwdrivers. Right, so that's enough talk. Let's crack on and get the bolts and screws in to hold all that in place. Alright, so I've now loaded up the bench with all the parts I'm going to need, all the screws, the cover for the starter motor. I just need to give the clutch cover a quick going over, and the cap as well. There's just a few bits on the edge. I've also dug out all the cylinder head bolts when we actually get onto that stage. I may run this as a continuous and then split it into 2 bits and just keep going all the way through. So I've got the sprocket to go on. I've looked for the sprocket nut and I can't find one anywhere, so I'm going to have to get a sprocket nut, which is an oversight by myself. So I'll probably leave the sprocket off for now, put the clutch cover all in place, get the clutch cable in place, work back through, have a look at some of these bolts as well. I've got some replacements because the old ones I tried to clean up and they didn't come up that well. But happy with how progress is going on the engine. So let's crack on and get these parts in place. Right, so I've loosely put the clutch cable into position, hooked it into the back of the actual sprocket cover. Right, it seems to slide in there nicely. I'm just trying to get the angle of the clutch cable. Alright, happy with that. One thing I did forget is put the 2 screws that hold the starter motor in place. So now I know that's going in at a good angle. I'm just going to put these screws in. Make sure they're in the right position, and I'll screw them in. Alright, so there's one screw, the other one's inside. So I'll just pop the clutch cover off. Alright, so now I can get, there's 2 screws at the top, one here and one here. Again, got brand new screws. So I'll get them screwed in. Right, so that's all the screws in place. And it's just a case of the clutch cable coming up the side of the frame. A couple of clamps. actually hold that in place. I say loose for now. Right, so next is the cover. There's actually a gasket. And get some screws in there, put that in place. Right, so let's have a look at the cover that goes over the top of the starter motor. So if you remember, there's one here and one there. Right, so that's the clutch cover done. Need to pull off the points cover, give that a quick clean, and then we'll move on to cylinder head. Right, so that's now clean. Just give it a quick going over. Again, I'm probably going to need to do this clutch a bit more. Again, these carb tops could come up a bit better. Right, next one. I'm going to go into rocker cover, pull this off, I'm going to drop some oil across the shims and the cams so it's lubricated. So I need to cut these down, but let's get that off, give these a quick clean up, and then we can start putting the gasket in, drop some oil in, get this cover back on and bolt it down. Like I always say, if there's anything I've missed or people have seen something that's not quite right, please let me know. For a first time, it is important that I learn as much as I can. I mean, so far I think it's actually gone pretty well. It has been a big learning experience. I've still got the rear tyre to do, put the rim locks in. This has been fun. I mean, anybody starting this or thinking about it, do your research, take your time, get the manuals. I say, even I've made mistakes with manuals and research, so. Like I always say, these videos aren't how-to, they are a documentation of my journey through building or restoring a bike. So far I'm happy with how it's gone. It's been a big learning curve, big experience. Just remember there's always people out there that have got more experience that can point you in the right direction and help. If you're willing to have a go, they'll help you. If you're willing to try. So let's crack on, get this sorted.